Stefan Diggs just said it out loud, microphone in hand, that Washington makes sense because it's his hometown. And Pierre Garçon, 5 seasons with this franchise, 11 years in the NFL, saw it, reposted it, and said, "I think it's going to happen." That is not a Twitter rumor. That is a legend of Burgundy and Gold putting his name on this. Now here is the thing. In a minute, I'm going to break down exactly why this move could be the missing piece Jayden Daniels needs to take over the NFC East. But I am also going to tell you why there is one real variable, one that the national media is not talking about, that could sink this deal before it ever gets off the ground. And while Diggs' name is filling every single conversation across the DMV, Adam Peters is quietly moving pieces on the defensive side of the ball, because the Commanders spent the number 7 overall pick on Sonny Styles, number 7, first round. And that means someone already in that linebacker room has a clock running against him. I will tell you exactly who and why the 2026 season is literally his last shot at staying in Washington. And all of it, Diggs, the defense, this entire roster, is going to be on the biggest stage this franchise has seen in years. Because on October 4th, the Commanders are crossing the Atlantic, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, London. And there is one detail about that game that nobody in the DMV is talking about yet, and it completely changes what that matchup means for the future of this organization. Raise hail! Let's get into it! So when Stefan Diggs grabbed that mic at 106.7 The Fan during his Diggs Deep Foundation charity event right here in DC, and he said he's familiar with the city and the people, that he wants to check them out over the next couple of months, and that it makes sense because it's hometown. Fam, the entire Commanders corner of the internet just melted down. And it wasn't just Diggs. Pierre Garçon, 11 years in this league, 5 seasons right here in Washington, saw the rumor on X and reposted without hesitation. This would be really good for both sides. I believe it will happen. With the emojis and everything. Garçon isn't some random fan throwing speculation on social media. This man played here. He lived this. And he believes Diggs is coming. Now let's talk numbers, because the numbers don't lie. 943 receptions, 11,504 yards, 74 touchdowns, 4 Pro Bowls, 11 seasons in the NFL, and last season with the Patriots, a team that went to the Super Bowl. Diggs put up 85 catches, over 1,000 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That's coming off an ACL tear after all the drama. 7 times in his career, going over 1,000 yards receiving. 7. Now put that in context with where Washington stands. Last season was rough on the offensive side of the ball. Jayden Daniels in and out with injuries. The whole Terry McLaurin contract situation being a cloud over training camp. And a wide receiver room where, outside of McLaurin, elite consistency just wasn't there. They added Van Jefferson, Diami Brown in free agency, and Antonio Williams in the 3rd round. And Williams has real juice as a route runner. That's not a knock. But none of those moves scream, this offense is ready to compete for the NFC East. Diggs does. And here's the tactical piece that has me fully bought in. Think about it for a second. You've got Terry McLaurin, an elite X-receiver, one of the best deep threats in the entire league. Now you put Diggs on the other side. Diggs is a route runner with an absurdly high football IQ, perfect in the slot, perfect on crossing routes, perfect at creating separation on short and intermediate patterns. Both of them have the versatility to align anywhere in the formation. Both of them can diagnose a defense before the snap better than most of the corners they'll face. That's not a tactical coincidence. That's nightmare spacing for any defensive coordinator in the NFC East. And Jayden Daniels, when he's healthy, when he has time, when he has weapons, this man can do things we haven't seen from a Commanders quarterback in a generation. Give Daniels 2 real exterior threats. Give him McLaurin and Diggs running simultaneously, and suddenly the run game, which was already solid last season, becomes even more explosive because defenses cannot stack the box. Yeah, I know, I'm already putting him in the starting lineup in my head. But stay with me. Oh, what about the drama? Because we have to go there. Diggs had legal issues that have since been resolved. He had the very public situation in Buffalo. He was cut before landing with New England. That locker room history has chapters that give some coaches pause. Dan Quinn is very specific about the culture inside that building in Ashburn. That's a real variable. But flip it. Bring in a veteran like Diggs, and suddenly Treylon Burks, Antonio Williams, and Luke McCaffrey have somebody in that room who has won, who has played in big moments, who knows exactly what it takes to produce at this level. The development of the young guys accelerates when a veteran like that is modeling the standard every single day. The question is whether it's a one-year deal, a straight rental, and if the number is right. Because Diggs has to understand Washington isn't going to blow up their future cap space on a 32-year-old receiver with injury history. This can work perfectly. 1 year, prove the locker room holds. Win the NFC East, then figure out what comes next. Garson's word means something to me. Diggs himself saying, it makes sense. It's hometown means something. And the tactical need the Commanders have at that position means something. Look, I could be wrong. Nobody knows how this ends yet. But the universe is aligning way too many pieces here to just ignore. And if he comes to DC, Burgundy and Gold is back on the map in a way nobody in this league can overlook. Okay, from the glamour of the off-season additions to a conversation that real Commanders fans need to have. Because what is happening at the linebacker position in Washington right now is more interesting and more important than it looks on the surface. The Commanders used the 7th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft on Sonny Styles, number 7 overall. When a team spends a first-round pick that high on a linebacker, you are telling the entire league something very specific about your priorities. And that has direct consequences for Frankie Louvu. Back up for a second. When Louvu came to Washington in free agency in 2024 from the Panthers, nobody quite knew what to expect. And this man earned second-team All-Pro honors in his very first year here, alongside Bobby Wagner, forming one of the most dynamic linebacker duos in the NFC. The fans loved him. The coaching staff loved him. He was the heartbeat of this defense. Then came 2025. Production dropped. But there is critical context here that we cannot gloss over. Washington had massive injury problems at edge, and they forced Louvu to play more on the outside, away from his natural off-ball role. That affects numbers. That affects explosiveness. It's not an excuse. It's football anatomy. New defensive coordinator, Daronte Jones, is moving him back to off-ball. Good. That's where Louvu is dangerous. But now he's got Sonny Styles, the 7th pick, and Leo Chenal, brought in during free agency, in that same linebacker room. Plus Jordan Magee looking for his shot. And Louvu is counting $11.29 million against the cap in 2026, with zero reports of an extension anywhere on the horizon. Fam, that is a prove-it-year situation, flashing in neon lights. Jones's scheme is going to lean on explosiveness and aggression. Those are exactly the traits Louvu has baked into his DNA. This man came into the league undrafted, worked his way up from special teams with the Jets, and built himself into one of the most dynamic linebackers in this sport through pure work and a chip on his shoulder that never goes away. That story doesn't get manufactured, but Adam Peters is always evaluating. And with Styles as the linebacker of the future and Chenal as the established complement, Washington now has contingency plans. If Louvu doesn't take the step forward this season, the Commanders have coverage. That is what changes the dynamic completely. What I need to see from Louvu in 2026 is pre-snap diagnosis leadership, aggression in the blitz package, real improvement in pass coverage, which has historically been the softest part of his game, and the intensity that made him famous in the first place. If he delivers that alongside Styles, this linebacker room becomes a serious problem for every offense in the NFC East. Louvu plays every down like it's his last. He needs exactly that in 2026, because this year isn't just about a contract. It's about his legacy right here in Washington. And while all of that is developing back in Ashburn, The Commanders are about to cross the Atlantic one more time. October 4th, Washington takes on the Indianapolis Colts at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London. Third international game in franchise history. Dan Quinn is already fully hype about this. He talked about the energy in Madrid feeling like a college bowl game. There was juice for football, a real celebration of the sport. And he's expecting the exact same thing in London. Josh Harris is talking about building the Commanders' global brand. And look, after Madrid against the Dolphins in 2025, which made history as the first NFL regular season game ever played in Spain, London makes complete sense as the next chapter. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is built specifically for American football. It has an NFL-spec artificial turf surface underneath the soccer pitch. The atmosphere at London games is different from anything you get on a random Sunday afternoon. It carries playoff energy, and the DMV fans who make that trip across the pond, and they will make that trip. We saw it in Madrid. They are going to create an environment that Jayden Daniels and this offense will feel from the very first snap of the game. October 4th, mark it on the calendar. Burgundy and Gold in London. And if by that point Diggs is on this roster and Sonny Styles is already making explosive plays on the defensive side, that game is a global statement. That's everything for today, fam. 3 stories, 3 reasons why the 2026 Commanders offseason is already built different. Diggs on the horizon, Styles putting pressure on Luvu. London in October. This organization is moving, and I am here for every single second of it. Drop a comment below and tell me, do we sign Diggs or do we go a different direction? I need to know where the DMV stands on this one. Leave a like if you made it to the end. Bro, it genuinely keeps this thing going more than you know. And share this with that one Commanders fan in your life who still isn't paying attention to the off-season. Time to wake up, raise hail, always.